And we're gaining a clearer picture of Trump's new administration and what that might look like, and how his picks might shape the president's second term. Here now to share more are Meghan Hayes and Marc. Meghan served in the Biden administration, and Marc formerly served as former President Trump's White House and on his 2020 presidential campaign. Marc, good to see you. I want to start with you first because you are in sunny West Palm Beach where the transition is happening. You also work for the America First policy arm. Tell us a little bit about kind of what role that organization is playing in terms of shaping this incoming administration.
Well, the America First Policy Institute was actually formed at the end of the first Trump administration, where all of the folks who were in the White House and also key senior agency officials, as opposed to going off and going into the corporate world or academia, they came together under the America First Policy Institute, where they've been working for the last 4 years, putting down the policies that the Trump presidency was based on in the first term, what they had planned to do in the second term, getting that all ready, whether it's research, white papers, eventually possible executive actions. And now all of that is sitting there waiting. And if the president-elect chooses to engage on that, he'll obviously have that expertise and that research to build his work on.
And Meghan, we are in D.C., not in West Palm Beach, so we don't have the stunning setting that Marc has. But there's obviously a lot of finger-pointing going on among Democrats. We just talked to Jasmine Wright about the blame that the Harris campaign might be bearing. But you worked for Biden. Is he responsible? Do the criticisms of Biden, are they warranted?
I think that there is a lot of blame to go around, and I think it's warranted to look at everyone, but I think that we could always go back and do the woulda, coulda, shoulda game, and we could be in a different spot. But the fact is we are where we are, and Democrats now need to look forward. We need to really take stock in who we are and who we are as a party and start to move forward. But yes, of course, there's blame. There is enough blame to go around for everyone in this situation.
Yeah, a lot of soul searching among Democrats.
Exactly.
Marc, you know that well because Republicans had done the same a few years ago. But I want to talk about some of these potential cabinet picks. Marco Rubio in particular, obviously kind of the biggest name that we've heard so far in this administration, reportedly being the selection for Secretary of State. What do you make of that pick? And what does that signal about the president-elect's foreign policy goals?
Well, obviously, Senator Rubio is well-versed in foreign policy and in international relations. He's been obviously a longtime senator, and I think it's a great choice when you even have folks like Senator John Fetterman of Pennsylvania, a Democrat, coming out and saying that he supports Marco Rubio. Should the president-elect name him, that's still not obviously been reported out officially yet. But I think it shows that he's picking people who are not only capable of offering advice, they're also offering the ability to go execute. And so Senator Rubio obviously is well-versed in this area. He's traveled around, and I think he'd be a great Secretary of State. But also what I'm seeing in a lot of these picks, in former governors, business executives, it's not just people who can advise the president, it's people who can go out and get the job done once he makes the decision to go.
Yeah, and to that point, Meghan, I mean, you heard from Fetterman and others. I mean, this seems like a highly confirmable pick. Are Democrats seeing any sort of ways in which they could work with this administration on foreign policy? Obviously, the economy, the border played big roles, but foreign policy did too in this election.
Yeah, I think that this is part of the reason that Rubio is an attractive candidate for Secretary of State to some of the Democrats. I think because he is confirmable and he has worked across the aisle on a lot of different things. The Secretary of State post is one of the most important in the entire administration. They represent America abroad. They represent our interests. And that's important to have someone there that has the confidence of not only the president, but of Congress. And I think it's really important with a Congress that's so close. And, you know, the Republicans do have the majority, but it's a slight majority. So I think it is smart to put someone there that can work across the aisle with these folks.
And speaking of working across the aisle, you know, Republicans are going to have control of the Senate. We're still waiting on the House, but it looks like a narrow House majority for the Republicans. Where do you see Democrats playing in here? Is it to kind of be the resistance party, or are they going to have to work with Republicans to kind of, you know, as essentially get better perhaps at messaging, as you were mentioning?
I would hope that the Democrats will find some common ground to work with Republicans on, because the people who lose when we are fighting against each other are the American people, and I don't think that's fair. I think the American people spoke in this election. They have decided what they want as policies. I think it's Democrats' responsibility to check them when it's appropriate, but there are certain things that they can work together, and it's important to do that.
And Mark, just quickly, how are Republicans feeling about that? Because the former president, now president-elect, says he has a mandate. Does he need to work with Democrats?
Well, obviously, Republicans could go along with this and just do this amongst themselves. But if there is an opportunity to work together, I'm sure the president would. He did it in the first term with the First Step Act. He also made overtures on immigration and dealing with the immigration crisis. There was a little bit of consensus there, but not a lot. I think this will offer Democrats an opportunity if they want to do things that might help them out at home, like John Fetterman suddenly becoming, a supporter of Marco Rubio. That also could be the fact that Pennsylvania is trending redder. Is that a way for him to look ahead to the election? So I think it's going to be a very interesting challenge for a lot of the Democrats of where do they work with this president and where do they just oppose him?
Yeah, especially in states where he won. Will be interesting alliances formed, and we'll be keeping tabs on all of it. Meghan Hayes and Marc Lauder, thank you so much.